Alright guys, back for another one. Thought I'd do two in one night. So yeah, best of luck to these two players. Let's see what we can do. I tried to pick a game that was a little bit more unbalanced this time, so I can kind of help a player find the holes in their defenses, that sort of thing. Okay, so we have knight f3. Interesting opening. I believe that is legitimate at the higher levels. Even I don't play it. Not that I'm high level, but I don't play that as an opening move. I personally think it's more principled to take control of the middle. Start with there before you do the fancy stuff. First suggestion. Every single time. Start with the middle. Just start there, figure it out. Okay, so we have the mirroring our moves. So obviously no threats to each other. We're controlling different squares. Not too worried yet. I mean, the only thing is now you do not have that. They do not have that. So I guess maybe that's the idea of the knight f3 first, is you just want to prevent the king's pawn. Okay, so we're going to slow play it, almost like a Gioco piano. Okay, nice thing with this move, you're making your bishop available. Sad thing is you're not getting your queen involved and your king is exposed on this angle. So anytime this pawn comes forward, or this one, you're going to run into checks that way and possibly into forks. So just something to keep in mind. For example, say you do this, which comes with a check, and then capture that knight, for example. Okay, so 3 knights. Okay. Alright, so if you really wanted a knight there, why didn't you just get another piece into the game? First principled rule, get as many pieces into the game as you can, like as fast as you can. That is all any player is ever doing, even higher levels. You're just rolling out pieces, seeing if you can stuff up there so that they can't move. I mean, this, you've 3 moves and you've got 1 pawn off the back. And all you're doing is you're preventing this knight from moving there. That's the only thing this pawn is doing. So now black is ahead in development. They could play this quite happily. Like maybe you have a match play. You just want to do this and get this out, then like really push in on this queen side. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, so as predicted, now that the knight has moved, you've relinquished control of that square. Also, that knight was defending it, so you relinquished control anyway. So taking control of the middle, preventing you from playing this, and then therefore you're going to struggle getting this bishop into the game, because it's going to always be looking at this pawn. You'll probably end up having to do this to get it in. Okay, so another principle of openings is do not move the same piece more than once in the opening, which is to say the opening is generally concluded once you have more or less moved all of your pieces. Not always true. Like sometimes like you have a piece or two on the back rank that just can't make it into the game, and you've moved into the middle game where you're actually tactically trying to outplay each other, but that's what you're trying to do for the opening. So this one piece you've moved 1, 2, 3. I mean, obviously you plan to do that, but you could have had 1, you could have had, 2, 3, not that piece, but 4 pieces out playing like that. But okay. So there's that check that we knew was coming. So, okay, you're left with a couple options. You have this, 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 this. If you move that knight back, I'm going to reach through the camera and probably smack you upside the head because you shouldn't move that piece again. I would maybe consider this knight acceptable, except that you're blocking in this bishop. So personally, probably I'd end up playing this pawn with the idea of that. Then you want to push this pawn forward to start taking some space. You're protecting your king. Your queen is able to get out. Your bishop can get out. Unfortunately, that knight is not ever going to be able to get out that way if you push the pawn. So what do we have? Good. Good. I applaud you. Good job. I'm happy. I don't have to reach through the camera and do any smacking. I'll give you a pat on the back. That's what I'll do. Okay. So we have bishop retreats. Not terrible. I mean, you do have this now to force it back onto this line. Again, leaves you a little exposed on your queen side, but if you can get this out and castle this side, you can actually use that to launch an attack and start coming this way. Because if you get that pawn up a couple more spaces, you're getting one of these pieces for free. So, yeah, I'd probably recommend this. Do this, this bishop must move there. This here, he must respond with doing this. Back him up. He's stuck on this diagonal. Now guess what? You do something like, I don't know, you get this out and then this there. He's not ever going to get into the game too easily. Let's see. Okay. So you're... Okay. I don't like that move. Here's why. You spend all this time getting him over there to what presumably was your happy position, and then you threw him away. So now you spent 1, 2, 3, 4 moves moving that knight, and it's gone. So 4 moves essentially accomplishing no work. You traded, like, bishop is technically worth slightly more than a knight, like a quarter point more. So technically you're up because you have the bishop pair now, but I would not recommend that. So we have that trade. That's life. Game's not over. I mean, maybe they'll do something ridiculous. You'll be able to take advantage of it. Okay. I think you just really like getting these knights out here, eh? Alright, so that comes there. This pawn, as soon as anything moves, I'm looking at what's becoming undefended, by the way. So when that knight moved, this becomes safe. However, you cannot go here to attack it. You could go here and threaten it. Again, maybe this knight, unfortunately, has to break that opening principle. Well, you could go here. Then if captures, then captures. You're threatening this knight. And then when the knight moves, you can just take that. Well, no, you can't take that pawn, but you could feasibly move towards getting another piece out because this is a well-known weak pawn. So, okay, here we go. Yep. Okay, defending. If you take it, it may look like you're causing an issue to his pawn structure. Already this bishop's going to get out, that rook's going to get in, and you're going to have damage on this file. You're going to have a hard time getting this bishop out because then you'll leave that pawn hanging. So, dangerous. And again, I probably would have preferred here so that you could have had the dual threat of that pawn. I mean, worst case scenario, they take this and you got that. You got the open queen up here and the pawn attacking it. So, not too worried. Okay. Okay. So, I don't know if that move is coming with purpose, threatening this square and the fork eventually. I don't really see how they're going to be able to take advantage of that unless you really work up getting your queen out. So I feel like there's a lot of moves happening without a plan, without a purpose behind it. You see, I don't like that piece is there. It's bothering me. It's in my way. It's preventing me from doing things. I'm going to attack it. Not going to recommend that. I mean, you can look at what are problems, but then you have to look at, okay, so yes, you can move that pawn, but what are they going to do, and what do I give up in doing that? So see, as soon as this pawn moved, before you had this square all under control. This knight couldn't really go anywhere, right? Neither could this one. So now when you go here, now you have only control of this. So all of a sudden these squares become very weak. So obviously he's going to go here because he also sees he has an escape square. There or there. Presumably here so that this one can get back that way. So there's that trade. Okay. I mean, yeah. Don't do that. Do this. Do this, do this. Expect this. Know that this is defended. And come with a queen out here. Actually, yeah, then this pawn will come out. Yeah. Just get some more pieces into the game. Yeah. So the one move attack, one move threat, with that retreat square. Now, this is forever a backwards pawn. This square is incredibly weak. Right here. This pawn, if any piece ever gets there, and so, for example, if this pawn is somehow able to get up here safe, and a knight or a bishop gets in here, that is never moving. You're screwed. The sad thing is he's got a great way to get in there. So, okay. Yeah. So, black lost one pawn, white lost two. Something you got to consider when you're doing a thing like this. You got to consider, okay, they get to take first. So 1, 2, 3. Black is up the exchange. They gain a full point of material out of that. I mean, granted, you get this open rook, which is nice, but not when you still have this exposed king here. That, again, with a pawn push, this queen will very quickly be able to come into the game. And if that rook ever moves, then you'll have like checks and discovered checks and double checks. Actually, that'd be a double checkmate. Fun fact. Even though this pawn is protected because the queen would be on that diagonal, that king would not be able to move out, and you cannot block the check. Crazy. Okay, so there. No, okay, there. Defending that so that, again, if you do this, check, then you'd say, haha, this rook can now see this rook. Not the worst thing in the world, because if the queen defends, then you're defending the rook, and now all of a sudden you're counterattacking. They could come down and take you, and you can take them right back. So, okay, I like that. I like that because you're getting a bishop out on a nice diagonal, like very clean, open lines. You're preventing castling shortly. Again, if he sees this, well, now and your queen's defending your rook, so he's probably not going to go for something like that. Yeah, just defends. Okay. And it's also defending the rook. So if you do a trade, keep in mind you're down material now, and he has what we call a passed pawn. So a pawn that can't be stopped by another pawn. So you're going to have to throw a piece against it to prevent it from turning into a queen at this point. Okay, you want him to take, not the worst thing, because you want to keep control of the open file. That's actually generally good. You shouldn't just trade pieces when they're available to you for a trade. Okay. Yep, he wants to get his bishop out into the game. So you see moves like that. You see, boop, and you say, well, that is obviously him trying to make a clear path somewhere. Who knows where? Okay, so you're trying to make a space for your queen. See, if you'd made this move earlier in the game, you would have had that option, right? Instead, now you've spent so much time bringing knights to here, to here, to here, to here, and then this one all the way up to here. How did you even get that one over to the others? I don't even remember how that happened. But you moved lots and lots of knights, and what do you notice about the board? You have no knights left, and you're down a pawn. So, okay, weak pawn. He recognized that this pawn cannot be defended by another pawn, so you do have the option of moving it here, which, I mean, then why didn't we just move it there in the first place? It is defended at the moment, so not really the worst thing in the world. It's just now those pieces are tied to defending it. So if your plan was initially to go here and then, maybe out to, I don't know, here, and then get this guy out to here, you're going to lose that pawn. Okay. Okay. I don't know why you want to make that move. Oh, no, I see what you're trying to do. You want to push this here to force that bishop back. It's just going to go here, though, and you're still going to have pressure on that pawn. So again, a better, cleaner solution, just then this pawn is defended by the one that's standing in the way of it. This bishop will have to move to, can't move there, couldn't have moved there. So let's see. For example, you do this. Can't move here, because both of those you're going to take it. It could go here, but then it's really doing nothing. It can go here, but again, really, what's it doing? Because it won't be able to move here or here. Like, it doesn't have a lot of good squares. So maybe it's hard to say what you would do with that. But anyway, we have this. Okay, please, please, please don't take that. Don't leave it either. Oh no. Okay, so counting exercise. 1, 2, 3. So this pawn's coming through. You're not stopping it. I mean, chances are you'll be able to get it back. You'll be able to push this. And then that will have to move back, and then your queen can come in. But it's an awkward position for you. Like, this pawn's all on its own, fighting 3 other pawns. Like, this bishop is preventing you from moving because you got to protect the pawn. And like, especially if the queen comes out, and then you don't want to push things out of the way because then your queen gets taken. So, yeah, try to avoid stuff like that. Oh, and then you got your rook behind it too. Good grief. So you can't really defend a whole lot. Oh no. So black actually has a nasty tactic here. So this is what you got to watch for. Things like when your pieces are defending each other, always got to monitor secondary attacks. You also got to watch for things that are attacking through other pieces. What do I mean by that? I mean, for example, if this king was here, right? This bishop would be attacking through that pawn. You'd be like, Michael, it's not actually doing anything. It is if you could bring a piece out to here, convince that pawn to move, right? Which you can't because there'd be king behind it. So in this case, I'm getting overly elaborate. What I'm trying to get at here is, for example, okay? For example, if it's black to move, say you do something like this because you're just like, well, whatever. Heck, maybe you're like, I want to get that bishop out of the way. Go away, bishop. What you can do is you can do this as black, and white's like, haha, that trade has finally occurred. And then black can be like, oh yeah, check. King, go wherever the heck it wants. Say it takes the pawn. We have this beautiful little queen in our pocket. So just a thought. You do make that move. Hey, I even predicted it. Aha. So, okay. Same idea. Black, I would have recommended going there first, because right now, that rook you could not take that back with the queen because of that tactic that I was showing you. Because then you would get rook or rook and, yeah, you get rook and queen for your rook and pawn. Like, it would be beautiful. In this case, yes, you get this. So I mean, just do this, because they can't take it back. They would have to, like, oh. They can't even move the queen out of the way because you're pinning the queen to the king. So they must take, and it must happen. You can't even just like move it out of the way or something because you're still just gonna take it. Oh, would have been beautiful. I mean, even if you weren't pinning the queen to the king, like, the queen would not be able to take this because of this whole tactic here. Yeah. So free rook. This, I mean, it works because, I mean, you could do this, and then the rook comes down, and then check, and then the king moves, and you get this, and you get two rooks for a rook and a pawn. But I mean, you could have had rook and queen for rook and pawn. So better way about this. Okay, yeah. So pawn for rook. It's still better for black. So white, that's what I mean. You got to look for things like that. This is being targeted through the pawn. You got to look for checks. Oh, this pawn could cause a check. So you have this whole cascade of moves that can happen. Okay, that's not bad. You're trapping the bishop. So bishop cannot move here or here, cannot get out. It could go this way and go that way out. So you'd have to worry about defending that real quick. But then this rook can, well, no, can't come down quite. Yeah. Okay, gotta check. King. As predicted, this bishop's gonna try and get out that way. See, the problem here is, like, since white never castled, his king is exposed. It's exposing him to all of those checks. It took him too long to get these like bigger pieces out into the game. So now you're kind of stuck. If you'd started by just trying to roll out all these pieces, it would have been much harder for black to move its pieces around and get these attacks on you. And I mean, especially if you're castled, it's going to be much trickier. And that's the thing. Sometimes it's not about attacking or like, I want to make them move away. It's just make their lives harder to accomplish whatever they're trying to accomplish. And then just keep doing that until it gets like way too complicated for them and then they just give up. That's fine. That's all you need to worry about right now. Okay, so we have a check. So this line, this line, this line are prevented. That means we've got this or this move. Well, I mean, you can take, but that'd be a bad sacrifice. Oh no. Oh no. So your king is basically naked right now. Especially you got a castle coming in, then that's another rook to the party. Oh boy. Okay. This queen is just going to come and pick things off. That knight is... Oh. Okay. So don't go for trades like that. Reason being, queen is way more valuable than the rook. I mean, you did get a bishop out of it, so points-wise, queen is worth 9 points, rook is 5, bishop is 3-ish. So, I mean, it's close. It's 9 for 8 points. You're still down the exchange. And since you're already behind so many pieces, like, what do you have? You have queen, rook, 2 bishops versus... Yeah, you're behind a full rook and I think a pawn or 2 as well. Trades don't favor you. It's about the ratio of pieces. You don't want to trade down material if you are already behind. So it's like if having I used this analogy before. If you have 10 on 9 advantage in a fist fight, right? Like that's the odds are kind of shaky. If you have a 5 on 4, the odds are getting better. If you have a 3 on 2, I mean, one side's way more likely to win. You got a 2 on 1, yeah, but you notice you're still one body more, but just as you get smaller and smaller and smaller, it becomes more clear which side's going to win. It's the same thing in chess. If you have a slight disadvantage, don't get rid of pieces. Don't let them do that to you. Try and avoid it at all costs. Like that. Especially a versatile piece like the queen that would have been able to maybe just sneak around, maybe get a sneaky back rank checkmate somehow. I don't know. Okay, so now we have the check. Oh boy. Oh no. So fork. Gotta watch those knight moves. Knights are tricky. They get me all the time too. Surprising forks. I believe the rule of thumb is if you're in a plus sign around a knight, they can't put you in check. If you're on the X side of it, they can put you in check. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So he's obviously gonna get a free rook. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Gotta look. You gotta like stop, look around. What can pieces take? What are things 2 steps away from taking? You know what I mean? Alright. That's an interesting move. So you have 1 piece left, and you're gonna sacrifice it for 1 pawn. Okay. Yeah, that's game over. So I mean, like there were some things that you did well. Both sides did some things very well. Very clever tactics on black on capturing the rook there in the corner. Could have done a little better and actually gotten rook and queen out of that. So I love the saying, you know, you see a good move, look for a better one. In white, I'm gonna say develop more pieces, control the center, and watch for those. Like scan what your opponent's trying to do. Like just look for what they're a couple of steps away and just try and stop that. Don't even worry about what your own plans are. Just figure out what their plans are and stop them. You'll do much better. All right, and I think that'll be a wrap for this video. But great game, guys. Subscribe to me, Nurse Mike Plays Chess. Follow me on Twitch, Nursing 9 Lives, and I do a few videos like these. They're fun. I enjoy them. Why not? Okay. Have a great night, guys.